The first snow of winter always came quietly to the town of Greyridge. It wasn't a place known for noise or spectacle, but for the silent way its pines held onto the frost, the way the frozen river reflected the moon like a sheet of glass, and the way the stars seemed sharper here than anywhere else. Daniel Cooper had lived in Greyridge his entire life, and though others often dreamed of leaving, he found comfort in the town's loneliness. On that particular night, the forest stretched wide and empty around him. He'd been cutting wood all evening, his gloves stiff with the cold, his breath rising in pale clouds. The temperature had plummeted far faster than usual, dipping into something dangerous. Daniel hefted the firewood into the sled behind him, pulling it toward his cabin. That was when he noticed the strange shape in the snow. At first, he thought it was an animal, maybe a deer that had collapsed in the cold. But as he drew closer, his lantern light revealed something impossible. It was a woman, or at least something resembling one. Her skin shimmered faintly blue, almost glowing in the icy dark, and her clothing, thin and torn, looked like nothing he had ever seen before. She was curled in on herself, trembling, her lips nearly colorless, her breaths shallow. Daniel froze, his instincts colliding in his chest. Fear, curiosity, compassion. The woman's eyes fluttered open briefly, and in them he saw not just pain, but a kind of desperate pleading, like a dying star flickering in the void. Without hesitation, he lifted her into his arms. She was colder than anything he'd ever touched, colder than ice itself. "Hang on," he muttered, his voice shaking as he pushed through the snow toward his cabin. "You're not dying out here. Not tonight." Firelight. The cabin smelled of pine and smoke. Daniel laid her gently on the old couch near the fireplace and threw logs onto the glowing embers until flames roared up, casting flickering warmth across the room. He grabbed blankets, wrapping them around her trembling form, and rubbed her hands to coax the blood back into them. Her skin felt different, softer, almost fragile, but the warmth began to return little by little. Her lips parted, and she whispered something faint, the syllables unlike any language he had ever heard. "It's okay," Daniel said softly, though he doubted she understood him. "You're safe here. Just don't give up." Her eyes opened again, glimmering silver in the firelight, and this time she spoke haltingly, as though forcing her voice into shapes it wasn't meant to make. "Where am I?" Daniel blinked. "You speak English." She struggled, her voice breaking. "Learning your tongue. Slow." "Greyridge," he said gently. "You're in my home. Found you outside. You would have frozen to death." She closed her eyes again, whispering something that might have been "thank you." For hours Daniel tended to her. He brought warm water, small sips of broth, more blankets. Slowly, her trembling eased, though her skin never quite lost that faint blue shimmer. Only once she was strong enough to sit up did he dare to ask, "Who are you?" The stranger among the pines. Her name, she explained, was Lyra. She was not from Earth. Her words came haltingly at first, strung together like fragments of glass, but Daniel listened, patient, as she pieced them into meaning. She had come from far beyond the stars, part of a voyage she could not fully explain in his language. Something had gone wrong. Her craft, damaged, had burned up in the atmosphere. She had fallen, alone, into the forests of his world. "You're telling me you're—" Daniel hesitated. "An alien." Her head tilted at the word, but she seemed to understand. "Yes, traveler. From far." He wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but the evidence was right there. Her skin, her silver eyes, her strange way of speaking. The truth burned through his disbelief. "What happened?" he asked. "My body not like yours," Lyra whispered. Your world cold. Too cold. Tried to walk. But stars faded. Body failed. Daniel thought of the snowstorm, of her body half buried in ice. If he hadn't come along, she would be gone. You're safe now, he told her. I'll keep you warm until you recover. She looked at him then, truly looked, as if studying his soul. Why? The question surprised him. Because you needed help. That's reason enough. Her lips curved into something faintly resembling a smile. Fragile bond. The days passed slowly. Daniel kept the fire burning at all hours, fetching extra wood, preparing warm meals she could manage. Lyra grew stronger, her voice clearer, her movements less fragile. She began to explore the cabin, touching objects curiously, marveling at things Daniel had long taken for granted. A kettle whistling, a mirror on the wall, the ticking of a clock. At night, she would sit by the window, staring at the stars with a longing so deep it seemed to ache in her bones. Daniel often joined her, offering quiet company. You miss it, he said once. She nodded, her voice soft. My home so far. The stars. They are my sky, my sea. Here. I am stranded. Maybe someone's looking for you, Daniel said gently. Perhaps, she murmured. But your world is hidden, distant. They may never find me. The thought struck him. This extraordinary being, forever trapped on earth. Her life severed from the infinity she came from. Yet, despite it, she was here, sharing firelight and silence with him. And in that silence, something unspoken grew between them. A dangerous world. Not everyone in Greyridge was kind. Rumors began to spread when Daniel stopped coming to town as often. The local store clerk joked about him, hiding a woman up in that cabin of his. Daniel brushed it off, but unease crept into him. One evening, as he returned from chopping wood, he found Lyra standing outside, wrapped in his old coat, her silver eyes fixed on the treeline. They are watching, she said quietly. Who? She pointed, and Daniel caught movement. Two men from town, hunters lingering too close. They slipped away when spotted, but the message was clear. If anyone discovered what Lyra truly was, she would not be safe. Curiosity could turn to fear. Fear could turn to violence. Daniel's chest tightened. He had saved her from the cold, but could he save her from people? That night he spoke firmly. You can't go outside anymore. Not unless it's safe. People here. They wouldn't understand you. Lyra studied him for a long time before nodding. Then I stay. With you. The fire within. Winter deepened. Snow blanketed the world in silence, isolating the cabin further. Days blurred into nights, and Daniel found his life entwined with Lyra's in ways he hadn't imagined. He taught her words she didn't know. Fireplace, blanket, trust. She, in turn, taught him fragments of her language, the syllables flowing like music. Sometimes she would hum softly, melodies unlike anything human, haunting yet beautiful, filling the cabin with an otherworldly calm. One night, as the firelight bathed them in warmth, Daniel asked the question that had been pressing on his mind. When you're strong enough, if you could leave Earth, would you? Lyra's eyes reflected the flames. She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, Yes, my heart belongs to the stars. But, her gaze lingered on him. I would remember you. His chest tightened, a mix of sadness and something tender he didn't dare name. You saved me, she whispered. Not just my life. You saved my faith in life itself.